right, everybody good? Not really much on the log. The aggravated assault, both of those are reports. No arrests on either. The burglaries at a building that actually, one building that was entered. The other was a construction site. Had some tools taken. Nothing big out of the disorderlies. Family dispute, frauds, larcenies are all reports. Sex offenses are both reports. No arrests on those. Nothing concentrated with the vandalisms, and then the one weapons violation, that was a report basically generated out of a traffic stop, but no weapons were used. There was just one that was, actually I think it was a shell casing that may have been found, but no arrests on that. That's all I have in the log. The accident, we don't have any really more information that we're going to be able to provide. The reconstructions, it usually takes a few weeks before they have answers to anything, and so we'll wait for that, but it's very detailed. On scene, they use some different tools to map out where everything's at, and then they will go back and look at the can't think of what it's called, but the data from the vehicle. So they look at that. There's a lot of pieces that go involved in that, and the big thing is physics. They're doing a lot of math to put things together, figure out where things ended up, and then all those, along with the video and witnesses, that all kind of contributes to help figure out exactly what happened and what led to the crash. So I'll keep tabs on that, and when we have something, I'll make sure to let everybody know, but it'll be some time before we have any firm answers on anything to do with that crash.
Can you say at this point, do you know the age of the driver at all?
It was one of the teenagers, obviously. I have to check with the detective on that. It sounds like he was making progress on identifying the driver, but I don't know if that's been fully determined yet.
There's a possibility that an eighth person may have, is there any merit to that?
That I don't know. I hadn't heard anything about that. The accident report just listed the 7. I hadn't heard any information about an 8th, but I can check on that one as well.
And have police been able to talk to all the teens involved
That
at
I
this
don't
point?
know. Anytime you have patients in a hospital, makes things a little bit more challenging. We don't just have direct access to walk into the hospital, and obviously getting them treated, getting the medical attention is the first priority. So we know who they are. There's always a chance at a later time when we'd be able to talk to them, but we're not going to go, it's not like TV in the movies, we're not going to go barging in, when they're in a facility, when they're receiving treatment like that. So we want to make sure that they're okay first and foremost, and then we can find a time, it may be a later time when they're released from the hospital, or we can find some other time to talk to them.
Given right now the possibility, uncertainty maybe of the driver and how this fits into going into the hospital, do you run toxology reports on everybody as soon as you can? Draw blood, those kinds of things, or is that something that it's difficult?
I don't,
I'm sure.
yeah, and I don't know in this exact situation what they did. There's a lot of different ways to go about that. Sometimes we're getting blood from that person and sending it off for analysis. Other times it may be the hospitals always draw blood, and so we may be able to use a subpoena to get information from that route. It really, there's not one standard way of doing things. Everything's a little bit different just depending on the circumstances.
And then one last thing for me. Is there any, simultaneously, when the police are doing the reconstruction, are there insurance companies that are doing the same thing and they're asking police for material, or is that?
That's separate. Yeah, you'd have to check with different insurance companies to find out what they do and how they do it. My guess is they probably rely a lot on the accident report, but the reconstruction, that's not a public document, so they may do some reconstruction on their own. I don't know what all that entails though. So certainly there could be two different investigations that are going on at the same time. I can speak to the police side of that. I can't speak to what happens on the insurance side. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask it, any indication at this point that speed may be involved just from the witnesses' recounts, or?
Yeah, the little bit that we have so far, there's some different surveillance cameras and then different witnesses, and both of those, it's pretty obvious that speed was a factor. We don't know what that exact speed was, and that's one of the things with the reconstruction, they look to determine, they try to determine a minimum speed, and there's usually a range that's associated with that. But that's one of the things they look to, but I think it's pretty easy to say, looking at the video, or talking to the witnesses, and then seeing the damage that was done to the tree, the house, and certainly the vehicle, that it's pretty easy to say that speed was a contributing factor in this accident. Anybody else? Okay, thanks.